Echoes of the past in the tape recorder. It was a rainy Saturday afternoon, the kind that seemed to stretch on forever with no end in sight. The gray clouds outside pressed down heavily on the small town of Oakwood, as if they, too, were part of the slowness of the day. Inside a modest house on Pine Street, 3 children, Sophie, Lucas, and Emma, were lounging in the living room, bored and restless. Sophie, the eldest at 12, flipped through a comic book without much enthusiasm. Lucas, a year younger, was playing with his toy cars, lining them up meticulously across the floor, while Emma, at 9, was scribbling aimlessly in a notebook, trying to create her own little comic strip. The house, although small, was warm and familiar, filled with the faint smell of old wood and lavender, a scent that Sophie had always associated with comfort. Yet today, everything felt strangely uninteresting. "There's nothing to do," Lucas muttered, pushing one of his cars off the edge of the coffee table. "We could go outside and play in the rain," Emma suggested, not looking up from her notebook. Sophie shot her a disapproving look. "We're not going out in that weather, Emma. It's like a storm out there." Lucas, never one to pass up a chance for adventure, groaned. "Then let's do something inside, something cool." The idea of finding something cool in their own house was laughable. Their parents had always been strict about keeping everything tidy, which meant no hidden treasures or forgotten toys. But Sophie's curiosity was piqued when her gaze landed on an old wooden door in the hallway they had never really explored. It was tucked away at the end of the narrow corridor, beyond a staircase that led up to the attic. Sophie had always wondered what lay behind it, but their parents had always told them it was off-limits. "Let's check out that room," Sophie said suddenly, her eyes brightening. "We've never been there." Lucas and Emma looked at each other. "Why not?" Emma asked, a bit too eagerly. "It's probably just full of old junk," Lucas said, not convinced. But Sophie was already heading toward the door, and after a moment of hesitation, the others followed her. The door creaked as Sophie turned the handle. Beyond it was a dusty, dimly lit room, filled with boxes, old furniture, and what appeared to be a collection of forgotten relics from the past. There was a heavy air in the room, as if it hadn't been disturbed in years. "Wow," Emma said, stepping inside and immediately sneezing. "This place smells ancient." "It's kind of cool, though," Lucas said, running his hand over an old wooden chair. "Look at all this stuff." Sophie stepped further into the room, her eyes scanning the clutter. On the far wall was a tall bookshelf, but what caught her attention was a small wooden table in the center of the room. On it lay a dusty object covered in a faded cloth. She approached it cautiously, lifting the cloth to reveal an old tape recorder, its silver buttons tarnished with age. "Whoa," Sophie said, intrigued. "I've never seen anything like this before. Is that a tape recorder?" Lucas asked, looking over her shoulder. "Yeah, but it looks really old," Sophie replied, running her fingers over the worn-out buttons. "I wonder if it still works." Emma, now thoroughly intrigued, bounced up and down. "Let's try it. Maybe it'll play something cool." After some fidgeting, Sophie managed to locate a tape inside the recorder. It was yellowed with age, and the label on it was barely readable. "What do you think it says?" she asked, holding it up to the light. Lucas squinted. "It looks like it says family history." "Family history?" Emma asked, confused. "Why would anyone record that?" "I don't know, but I'm curious now," Sophie said, as she inserted the tape into the recorder and pressed play. At first, there was only static. Then, a crackling voice came through the speakers. The voice was low and slightly muffled, but unmistakably human. "Hello? Is this thing on?" "All right, it's recording. I'm going to tell you all about the Mitchell family history, starting with your great-grandfather, Elias Mitchell, and his role in the early days of Oakwood. The town isn't what it seems, kids. I have to make sure this gets passed down, because there are things that you need to know." The voice paused, and Sophie exchanged a glance with her siblings. "Great-grandfather," she whispered, unsure of what she was hearing. "Shh, let's listen," Lucas urged, equally captivated. The voice on the tape continued. "Elias was no ordinary man. He was one of the founding members of this town, and he had a deep secret that has been passed down through generations. It's a secret that has been hidden in plain sight, and if you're hearing this, it means that you, my great-grandchildren, are the ones who will uncover it. Sophie's heart raced. A secret? What secret? The voice grew more urgent. You must find the hidden letter in the attic, the one behind the painting of the old oak tree. It will explain everything. But be careful, children. There are people who will stop at nothing to ensure the truth stays buried. The tape crackled, and the voice faded out, leaving an eerie silence in the room. The recorder clicked off automatically. Sophie, Lucas, and Emma sat in stunned silence for a few moments, processing what they had just heard. What was that about? Emma asked, her voice shaky. Our great-grandfather had a secret? That was weird, Lucas said, his eyes wide. But cool. I want to know more. We have to find that letter. Sophie was already standing up. We're going to the attic. Now. The three of them made their way up to the attic, their footsteps echoing through the house. It was dusty and filled with boxes, old furniture, and a few forgotten items that had been stored there for years. Sophie immediately went to the wall where a large, ornate painting of an oak tree hung, its edges frayed with age. Behind the painting, she asked, reaching up to lift it. Lucas helped her, and together they managed to pull the painting away from the wall. Sure enough, there was a small compartment behind it, hidden from view. Inside, tucked away in a small envelope, was a letter. Sophie carefully pulled it out, her hands trembling with excitement. She opened it slowly and began to read aloud. To my descendants. If you are reading this, then you have uncovered the truth. The Mitchell family was never just a regular family. We were protectors of something much larger. This town, Oakwood, holds a secret buried deep beneath its streets, an ancient artifact that has the power to change the course of history. Your great-grandfather, Elias Mitchell, was chosen to safeguard it, and now it is your turn to continue the mission. The artifact lies within the old church on the outskirts of town, hidden beneath the floorboards. Do not let anyone else find it, for there are others who seek it for darker purposes. Trust no one. Your great-grandfather, Elias Mitchell. Sophie finished reading the letter, her voice barely above a whisper. An artifact? Hidden beneath the old church. This is crazy, Lucas said, shaking his head. But it makes sense. Remember all those weird stories we've heard about Oakwood? The ones where people say the town's history is strange? Maybe this is what they meant. We have to go to the church, Sophie said, determination in her voice. We can't just leave it like this. We have to find out what the artifact is. And we'll do it together, Emma added, her eyes bright with excitement. The three of them knew that their lives had just changed forever. What had started as a simple day of boredom had turned into a mystery that stretched back generations. The Mitchell family history, once just a vague name on their family tree, was now a puzzle that only they could solve. And so, as the rain continued to pour outside, Sophie, Lucas, and Emma set out on an adventure that would not only uncover the secrets of their ancestors, but also change their lives in ways they could never have imagined. The next few days were filled with preparation and research. The children spent hours at the local library, combing through old town records, looking for any mention of the church or its hidden past. They talked to old town historians, some of whom seemed to know more than they were letting on, and visited the church itself, trying to piece together the clues. One crisp morning, armed with nothing but their determination and a small flashlight, they ventured to the church at the edge of town. The building stood like a forgotten relic, its stone walls weathered by time and its stained glass windows cracked, but still beautiful. It was clear no one had been inside for years, and as they entered through the creaking door, the air inside was thick with dust. They quickly found the floorboards that the letter had mentioned, and with a bit of effort, pried them up. Beneath them was a small, stone chest. Inside it, they discovered an object unlike anything they had ever seen, a beautifully carved amulet, pulsing with a soft, otherworldly glow. The truth about their ancestors, the artifact, and the history of Oakwood had finally been revealed.